12 basic needs. Start off with number one for food and water. So when we start talking about food and water, we live in a country that's full of abundance, all kinds of food and water. So why are we so unhealthy? Do we have a misguidance, or we all don't really know how to take care of our needs with food and water? I think a lot of the reason we are unhealthy in our views of food is because we got a couple other basic needs that we've had major issues in. I think it's number four, the need to be accepted, respected, loved, valued, not for what we do, but for who we are. I think it's also number five, the connected relationships. We need relationships where we can find belonging, where we can be our authentic selves. I think growing up many times, especially those of us that have had complex trauma as children, those two didn't happen. So food gets all distorted. So some of us, we've used food as a medication. We find food tastes good, and so we use food to connect. When we eat food that tastes good to us, that we enjoy, especially stuff with sugar in it, or chocolate, coffee. I like dark chocolate and coffee. When we find things like that, it releases some of the same chemicals in our brain that are released when we have those connected relationships. So we don't have the connected relationships, so we turn to food. We use food for medication. And that's where our food gets all out of skew. And so we go through life anytime we think we need connection, we're feeling connection inside, we're having need to connect, we're having need to feel valued, accepted, respected, and it's not coming, so we turn to food. A lot of us have done that. Well, that hasn't been my biggest issue with food, although I've had plenty. And look at me, I'm slender. My issue was not in finding food that I like, because I didn't find as a child food that I really enjoyed food. Dinner times around the table were not enjoyable times to me. It was a lot of times with some contention in it between us siblings that wasn't wrangled down. And so that was, didn't find food enjoyable. But I found because of my complex trauma, I did try to control my food. It was an area of my life I could have control over. And I desperately looked for control, for ways to control life because of my trauma. So I pressed into control. I put it on my plate. I planned on eating it. You didn't touch my plate. You didn't touch the food on my plate, because it was mine. And I didn't want anybody messing with it. I figured out how much food I needed to make it through the day, and that's what I ate. I didn't eat more than I needed, and I didn't take in less than I needed. And I tried to really control. Later on, I got into cycling, and I controlled my calorie intake. Oh man, like a crazy person. I mean, I watched exactly how many calories I burned, and I watched exactly how many calories I put in, so I could keep my attained riding level. Right now I'm about 145 pounds, and that's what I've been most of my life. When I cycled really hard, I was down to about 134 pounds. And to keep that weight, that was optimum racing weight to me. I was a nutcase on myself on what I ate. If my wife brought me a little extra dessert, which she think would be desirable, I got offended. Because I was controlling my food intake. I was controlling how I ate so I could do something well. Cycling was another area of control for me that wasn't healthy. But my way of dealing with food was no better than overeating food to medicate. I was undereating food to medicate. Wasn't bulimic, but I was a control freak. And that's the way I live life for most of my life. Just not enjoying food, but using it for something that I could have a firm control on. I could control what I put in, what I burned out, and not healthy. So I am learning at this stage in life how to open my hands, don't walk around with open palms, and not be in so much control. No clenched fists. How can I enjoy food? How can I have times that I enjoy a little extra dessert, a little extra time around the table with my family? Times around the table are still something I'm working on. When I have other family members there, I still tend to close down and hunker down and get tight, and not be open and responsive, because of my relationship with food as a child. So how has your relationship with the food as a child affected your life? How are you navigating that? Have you realized that it has so much power and control? Have you realized you're using food to medicate for other needs? I used the lack of food to medicate for other needs. Didn't have value, didn't feel controlled, didn't feel like life was out of control, so that I grabbed the one thing I could and used it heavily. Damaging relationships. My wife still, when she'll sometimes make something really nice for me to eat, and you don't have to eat it if you don't want to. You don't have to take that extra piece of dessert. Man, what is that? Well, I'm working at it. I'm learning that I have issues with different areas of my life that I never realized before. And I'm working at being healthy and having healthy relationships with the one I love. Hope you'll take a good look at that. Let me know where you're at. How have you used food unhealthily? How have you done it healthily? If you've been healthy with food, hope you have.